Well, the way things are progressing, it looks like the Patriots-Bills game will be played as scheduled. Kickoff on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Looks like it's going to happen, and we have positive news on Bills safety Damar Hamlin. He is beginning to awaken as he, quote, shows, quote, substantial improvement in his recovery from going into cardiac arrest, according to doctors who spoke this afternoon at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. Hamlin is still considered critically ill, and neurological conditions, though, do appear to be intact. He's able to move his hands and feet, but he's still unable to speak. He is still intubated. However, he can communicate in writing. The Bills spoke a short while ago. Sean McDermott was asked about playing Sunday, but let's start with Josh Allen, who explained what he was thinking when his teammate was down on the field Monday night.
Describe how, I felt, how my teammates felt in that moment. It's something we'll never forget, but to know that Damar is doing okay, and I know there's still a lot of things and stuff that he has to process and continue to go through to get back to himself. We're just, again, we heard that news this morning, and there's nothing that could have been told to us to bring our day down. We're extremely happy for him and his family. We just want to love up on him, so the next chance we get.
I feel strongly that as his dad, as Mario mentioned to us, that this is what Damar would have wanted and wants. And we owe that, this is my opinion and my take on it, we owe that to Damar and we owe that to his family. His dad said the first thing that he's going to ask when he wakes up is who won the game. And sure enough, that's what he did, man. And as teammates, you love hearing that response, that the first thing on his mind wasn't, poor me. It was, how are my teammates doing? Did we win this game? And that's powerful in itself. I think putting that helmet back on today was a really good thing for our team, and just to kind of go through that process. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't say, some people are going to be changed forever, after being on the field and witnessing that and feeling those emotions. But again, the best way that we can continue to move forward, obviously the updates that we keep getting on Damar really lift our spirits, leaning on each other, talking to each other. We've had some very open and honest and deep talks, some unbelievable, it sounds weird, but embraces as men, just hugging somebody and actually leaning into them. There's been a lot of that going around, and you need every bit of it. You really do. And again, I think the fact that we just keep hearing good news about Damar, it just keeps pushing us forward.
Really is the best place to be right now as we deep dive this upcoming game on Sunday. Monday Morning Quarterbacks, Albert Breer is in studio with me here. Phil Perry is down with the Patriots in Foxborough. I'm actually going to start with Albert because I know you've been talking to people in Buffalo and listening to what they had to say today. I mean, this game is going to go on, guys, and it seems to me that they're very motivated, not just to play for themselves, not to play for seeding or a Super Bowl, but they want to win for Damar Hamlin. So it seems, at least to me on the surface, that they are ready to play. But I know, Albert, it's not that simple. Yeah,
and I think there's a chance that they're just spent, by the events this week. They're on a short week anyway, coming off of the Monday night game. And I think just what they went through on Monday night, the emotional toll that I think that took, it'll be interesting to see how they come out of it. And sometimes, what will happen with a team like this is they'll be in that situation and then they'll feel it the week after. They'll sort of be riding things through the days following it, and then they get out of the process of getting ready for a game, and then they get to Monday and they just sort of collapse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the emotions are managed here by Sean McDermott and his staff. And I think one thing that Buffalo has going for them, that's a high character locker room. Anybody who's been around that team knows, and it's different types of adversity, but the way they handled the Hail Mary going against them 2 years ago, the way they handled coming out of the win game and the bad performance against Tampa last year, this is a team that's handled adversity really well. Now, that's football adversity, so that's a different type of adversity, but I think this is a high-character group, and I think you could see over the last couple of days how likable a group that Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have put together there in Buffalo.
Phil, you were with the Patriots today. I know they weren't on the field on Monday night, but this is affecting everyone who plays football right now. How does the Patriots feel? How do you see sort of their psyche going into Sunday?
Yeah, it's really interesting to me, Trenni, because it differs from person to person, from player to player, obviously. But, I did get a little bit of a feeling of somberness in the Patriots locker room today. They are approaching this situation very seriously. They are still thinking very seriously about Damar Hamlin and his family, and every player we spoke to started with comments along those lines that they're still sending thoughts and prayers to Hamlin, even though they know that there was some positive news today on that front in terms of his progress. But I asked a variety of players just if they would be able to, because this interests me in terms of the game on Sunday, if they would be able to summon the kind of intensity that you'll need for a football game while also feeling as much sympathy as they feel for the entire Bills organization right now. And the responses differed. Matthew Judon said, no, it's such an important game. We'll be able to get up for that. We will understand the emotion on the other side, and we understand what the atmosphere might be like. But once the ball's kicked off, you have to play and you have to compete. But there were others who were very honest about how they don't know how they'll feel going into that game and what their emotions will be like. They said they're ready to play, and they will be ready to play. But in terms of the intensity part of it, that's something that will be really interesting to follow come Sunday.
I think one of the things that's important to remember here, too, and I think, Phil's getting to it, is how it really is a fraternity, and with all of the players, there's a code that they take care of each other. And I can just tell you the stories that I heard, heavy stories of what players were doing for each other in the tunnel, Bengals and Bills. And, Joe Burrow gathering the Bengals captains and walking them over to the Bills locker room and just to check on the Buffalo players. These guys all take care of each other. And so I think one thing that's going to be visible on Sunday, just watch, when you're watching this game, I know most people out there watching this want the Patriots to win. Watch how guys pick each other up off the ground. Watch how guys pat each other on the butt. I think you're going to see some signs in this game of
different
the brotherhood, the brotherhood of the NFL.
Let me ask you guys this, because the way you're talking, the emotions, the exhaustion, it's for both teams, but in particular for Buffalo, who is already working on a short week. Phil, should they have moved this game to Monday, say Monday afternoon, just to give everybody a little bit more time to process?
I'm not sure. I mean, again, this is a pretty unprecedented situation, so I'm not sure. Are you more ready? Are you much more ready on Monday than you are on Sunday to be able to just emotionally get yourself up and ready to go? Because I do think that's important. We've heard players, especially former players, say if you're not mentally all there, if you're not feeling right, as far as that goes, that's, those are situations where you can get hurt in this game. This is too fast a game. It's too physical a game. If you're not all there, then that could be a problem. So that would be an argument for moving it to Monday. But it's felt all along, Bert, that this game has been scheduled for Sunday, and until otherwise notified, the game was going to be played on Sunday. And now that you hear from Hamlin himself and his family saying that this is what he would want, it's clearly not going to be moved now.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, honestly, this can go the other way, too, where more time can actually be damaging. You know what I mean? More time gives you more time to think about it. The quicker you're back into your routine, the easier it is to sort of compartmentalize things. And so I think that, for the Buffalo players, I think if you ask them, they would probably tell you, we would rather get on with our work and we would rather just go forward and try and play the game on Sunday. What they saw was so traumatic, and I had somebody who was, one of the Bengals coaches described this to me, and I think it was a really interesting way to put it. But all those players that were crowded around Damar Hamlin, right? All of those guys are there because they're trying to be there for their teammates. Simultaneously, they're also blocking all of us from seeing what was happening on the field.
Right, so we didn't see someone brought back to life.
And we were all blocked from it. The people in the stadium, most of them couldn't see it. You know who did see it? All of them. All of them. And I don't think any of us can it's hard for any of us, I think, to really understand with what they saw without seeing it with our own eyes. And I think that element of it makes this different than anything else that any of us can remember ever seeing on a football field. And so how you're going to react to that's pretty unpredictable, I think. And I think the busier you can keep yourself in a situation like that, probably the better off you're going to be. And so I think these guys would probably say the faster I can get back to work, the easier it's going to be for me to deal with this. And honestly, Trenni, this might be hardest for those Bills players when the season ends.
Yeah.
And then they really have time to think about it.
Then you have time to process. Yeah, well, the Patriots did speak today as well, and they were asked what they're expecting when they go up against Buffalo to play the Bills.
Obviously, him being on their team, that's a lot of motivation, and just to play for him. I mean, we're all playing for them, right? We all want to be out there.
Just thinking about that situation, thinking about the environment, what we're going to go into Sunday. You know, we're the team that has to go play in Buffalo this week after, I'm sure, just a roller coaster of emotions for them. I'm sure they're still dealing with so many different things.
It's been unlike a football week I've ever had, that's for sure. So, you know, it's trying to prepare for a really good football team and a really big game.
A lot of 3 jerseys, 3 signs. You know, it'll be, I'm sure it'll be a little surreal to be obviously at home last week of the season. Yeah, obviously there's some stuff that we need to still talk about as a team and get through.
Knowing our fan base and the connection that we have and that they have with us, I think it's going to be very emotional for everyone in the stadium. And B, I think it's going to be unlike anything I've ever seen before.
You know, guys, when I heard both Sean McDermott and Josh Allen talking about what Mario Hamlin said to them and how the first thing Damar Hamlin asked when he came out of a coma was, who won the game? And football and his team was at the forefront of his mind. And then you add into everything that the city of Buffalo has gone through this year with the shooting at the grocery store, the number of people who have died in severe weather events over the past couple of months. It feels to me like Buffalo is going to go in there on Sunday afternoon and just like put up 60.
And it's, I mean, it does feel like it could be that kind of day. Again, like maybe they're drained, but maybe they come out and they put their foot on the gas and they perform that way. I don't know what it's going to be like in that stadium, but I would expect, based on what I know, having covered a lot of games in that stadium over the years, that it's probably going to be a pretty special environment there.
Matthew Slater, who has been playing in Buffalo once a year for the last 15 years, at least once a year, said he's expecting something that he's never experienced before. As a guy who's been to Super Bowls, who's played in front of no fans, who's played in front of fans when they came back, coming off the pandemic. This guy's seen everything there is to see over the course of the last 2 decades, essentially, in the NFL, and he's anticipating something very different on Sunday. So I'm thinking, especially if hopefully we continue to get good news on Hamlin, that stadium will be rocking on Sunday.
One last thing, too, and I think this is an important thing to remember with what Hamlin said when he got up, who won the game. That's actually a really good sign medically, too, like that he has the cognitive function, because that's the main thing is
he remembers
how much oxygen was getting to his brain while he was being resuscitated on the field. The fact that he can recall that, I think, is actually a really good sign medically, and I think that's why you saw so many of the Bills players so emotional talking about it.